have a quorum. Kyle this evening will be attending via phone. Maybe I just broke his ear. Sorry.
No, I'm here.
Okay, good.
I'm clear.
And we're waiting for Charlie to come in to the meeting. We will be talking about the approval of the new water tank. And then we went through the RFP in order to select a wastewater stormwater engineer of record for the town. For those of you who are not aware, Paul Montgomery, who is here this evening, happens to be our drinking water engineer of record for the town of Alberton. And I apologize, I haven't called that to everyone's attention prior.
Well, do we want to continue to sit here for Charlie, or Paul, do you have anything you can discuss on one of these other items before he gets here?
Well, Hunter is here from, is it UIG?
MBH2F.
From Ambient. So Charlie reached out, this is Hunter Day from Ambient, A-M-B-I-E-N-T-E apostrophe.
Yep, H2F. Italian spelling.
And they are a, do you guys manufacture, or you?
No, we're a manufacturer's rep.
Okay, for,
UIG tanks.
for water storage tanks, both bolted and welded. So the one, Charlie reached out to Hunter. Hunter provided a kind of a planning level budget figure for two different types of steel tank, that 200,000 gallon tanks that we could implement here in Alberton. And the one thing that I wanted to point out, you know, there's the remote possibility that we could secure one of these tanks directly without going through competitive bid.
Okay.
And as I was telling Hunter, and I will tell Charlie here too, the possibility of doing it without a competitive bid is rather remote, particularly since we'll have two different federal sources of funding. And those funding agencies require strict adherence to the state procurement requirements, which implies a competitive bid for anything that's over, I believe it's $80,000. So I'm going to look into the possibility, you know, moving forward with the water storage tank design and so on and so forth, presuming we are hired, seeing whether or not we can carve out this furnishing the tank, carve that away from doing all the civil work up at the tank site, and buy the tank directly and save some money. Obviously the advantage there would be, you know, you might not need to secure an SRF loan at all, because it might be able to get done for less than $1 million, or for right around $1 million. If it's not possible to do it that way, and the federal agencies, you know, they disallow a direct purchase, then we're still on track to do this project for about $1.3 million. And the DNRC has indicated that you're a very good candidate again for getting some forgiven principal. So if you got a $300,000 SRF loan, half of that potentially could be forgiven. So you could walk away from this $1.3 million project with a $150,000 SRF loan, which isn't bad.
Wonderful.
So that's really the only thing I wanted to talk about prior or during the meeting tonight, unless Hunter, you have anything else?
No, I think you covered it well. Pre-purchase is all contingent upon the federal government allowing it via their pre-procurement regulations and rules, so.
Yeah, and the prices are on this little proposal here. That,
Right.
You know, the bolted tank is a very appealing number, you know, quite honestly. And the one question that I did get answered, partially by Hunter and by some other manufacturers of bolted steel tanks, is that technology used to there used to be a rubberized gasket in between all the bolted layers and the bolted panels and so on, and that technology has improved to the point where leakage is a pretty negligible concern anymore. So unless you want to add something to that too.
Absolutely, at one point, basically, just engineered out the gaskets, designed flange bolt connections or overlap panels to minimize leakage tremendously.
That's all I had.
Okay, great, thank you for that.
If we are required to go through the RFP process, would you still be able to submit?
Oh, absolutely.
So
Yeah, we'd still be able to submit.
whichever way.
Either way it goes, it's just, I think pre-procurement saves a lot of contractor markup as well.
Yeah.
So it's one of the situations I can get into and provide, if we can get there before going to competitive bid, then I can provide a big number to a contractor and then it's kind of out of my hands from there.
Yes.
Good.
Is there any possibility that we could try to fund buying the tank and then having the federal $1 million like reimbursed, like working it a different way? If we could front the 340 or whatever, or
So the special appropriations grant and the SRF loan / forgiven principal is a reimbursement process. So you incur costs regardless of when you do it, you incur the cost and then you seek reimbursement for that. So
okay.
if you're gonna use federal dollars, regardless of when you spend it or seek reimbursement, it has to comply with the procurement regs. And maybe I'm missing the nature of your question, but.
I just was trying to just make sure we kind of explore every avenue of that. It, I guess, is kind of where I'm coming at, if there was a way instead of, and then, like, do you know if this is something that I haven't looked into enough, but are there a bunch of different stipulations to that $1 million compared to like an SRF loan?
No, a lot of the requirements are very similar because they're the same source.
Sure.
Like you have to use Davis-Bacon wage rates. Again, you have to go through the proper procurement. There's American iron and steel requirements and that sort of stuff.
Okay.
And all those apply across the board.
Right. Okay.
Again, I guess the bottom line is I will check with EPA and with the DNRC who runs the SRF program to see if there's any possibility of getting around that procurement requirement legally.
Good.
And that'll just be part of our function for the town.
Sounds good. What is the rest of the process we need to complete in order to approve moving forward?
So I just sent, I think it was yesterday, I sent the work, I'm kind of working on the COM right now, okay, in anticipation for getting a contract signed. So I prepared a work plan because that's what Matt Mullins from the EPA Region 8 suggested as a stepping off point.
Mm-hmm.
So I went ahead and did that, and I submitted it yesterday to him. I sent copies to you folks too, just so you're not, I'm not off acting like a rogue. So we got the work plan done, and also one of the big elements of this kind of this preamble process to getting the grant, the $1 million grant, is making sure we've gone through the environmental assessment process. So back in 2021, we actually did an environmental assessment, the whole professional engineering checklist, contacting and soliciting comments from all the agencies like State Historical Preservation, Fish, Wildlife and Parks, Montana Fish, Wildlife and Park, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, all of these agencies that need to be contacted to make sure that there's no environmental impact, cultural, environmental, or socioeconomic impact. So we did that, went through that process in 2021 for this project we just completed, but also included in that EA area was the tank, because That was part of the project back in 2021. So we have an environmental assessment that's already been done and approved. It just needs to be dusted off, and they may not, they may need to take another look at it, but I think it's all pretty much done. So I submitted that also to Matt Mullins as an attachment to that work plan.
I did look at that, and you had said that not enough had changed significantly that you were.
Yeah, really zero has changed.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
And if you guys wanna see that, we have that on digital copy, but it's like 500 pages, so we're not about to print it. We do have one printed hard copy in the office.
Yeah.
It's also available on their firm's website, they're like project documents.
Yeah.
So that's really good too.
Fantastic.
Okay. Sure.
Good to know.
But it's lengthy.
Yeah, so I think, the skids have been greased somewhat, and we'll wait to hear back from Matt on what the next step is. But my assessment is that the work plan and the environmental assessment are the two biggies to move towards approval of your grant application. Okay.
And there were 3 other items on that list. One was the,
Work plan, environmental assessment process.
yeah,
You started off with work plan, environmental assessment process, 1 and 2.
Oh, in the engineering service?
Yeah, when Lorene had asked, what do we need to, where does this process go forward?
Well, we also need to prepare an SRF loan application,
right, okay.
which we've done for you before, so that'll be a fairly streamlined process.
Okay.
Yeah, and once those funding sources are lined up, we can begin design.
Okay. And is the amendment 5 need to go, do we need to approve this tonight, that this is part of the tank?
So amendment number 5 is to cover everything from this point to the end of construction of the tank. So it's taking care of all the funding stuff, application to SRF, finishing out the application to the special appropriations grant, administering those funding sources on behalf of the town, which we've done for the previous projects. It is taking care of design, MDEQ approval of the tank design, going through the bidding process, and helping the town with award to a contractor, and then managing construction and doing resident construction inspection for the actual implementation of the tank.
Okay.
So carrying you through to the end, and then, of course, after that project closing out those funding programs, and then doing the 1-year performance certification and the warranty work.
Okay. This is dated April, and I wondered, because you probably thought we were going to see it, in the next meeting. Is it acceptable to cross through that, or do you want to provide me with a fresh page 1, and
I can provide you the fresh page 1
which says
and,
March, and then the last page, is it dated also, or do you want to?
the last page is dated at the top, April 2006. And I can provide you with a fresh copy that says March. I can even print today's date on it if you wanted.
Please, and then I'll be happy to sign, and while you're doing those changes, for my legal name, I like to use my middle initial.
Okay.
To say Lorene M. Costa, where it says mayor. That would be perfect.
M?
Emma, as in May.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
No worries there.
May I?
And we're going to say the 24th day of March.
Please. I appreciate that, Paul.
My pleasure.
Council, did you have enough chance to look at this to see if you had any questions regarding what we're talking about? I looked it over
I looked it
a
over.
couple of times.
Yeah, I've seen this. No questions?
Obviously, I haven't looked it over, but I'm listening.
Thanks. I've looked at it, and I think from what I've heard from Paul, this is pretty straightforward. Yes.
We'll get it emailed to you, Kyle. Sorry that we didn't get that to you beforehand.
That's fine.
Okay, then does the council need to make a motion to approve this amendment, or are we there?
I'll second it.
So, motion by Tim and seconded by Marvin that we would move forward with the approval of the water tank. And I would like to follow the format of calling the question. So starting with Marvin, the vote. Sharon,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
and Kyle.
Yes.
All in favor, then the motion carries unanimous. Thank you very much. Was there anything further we needed to do, Paul, to move forward on the tank proposal?
I don't think so. I'm ready to go.
The only other thing for the 20% match, we had started looking into that, and then you shot that email with Matt. Are you on top of that?
Yes,
Okay.
so
And
I spent about 2 days going through their criteria and going through US Census data stuff. Did you get the email? I said, boy, the
yeah,
census website is so unfriendly.
and
So
I had personal experience too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we're looking at median household income, then you're looking at the upper limit of the lowest quintile of income, and there's 5 different criteria that are just, they're mind-bending, trying to figure out where you're at. And so then I spent 2 days, kind of spinning my wheels, and I called up Matt, and he says, well, don't make a big deal out of this, but they qualify under criteria E, because the town of Alberton, I think 12.8% of the town of Alberton receives SNAP benefits. And as long as you're above 11.8%, you qualify for a cost waiver, a cost share waiver. So theoretically, you don't have to put any money in. It's just that the project's probably gonna be over $1 million. So you're providing about a 20% match anyway. But again, if we can get around some procurement stuff, we might be able to save on that SRF loan. And the objective now would be to get the cost as low as possible, to make that SRF loan as small as possible, to make your user rate impacts as little as possible.
Great.
The original basis for the $1 million was a 20% match from the town, but if you qualify to get that dropped, and we do.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Demonstrate that I'm not the smartest guy on the planet.
So we can move forward then to the next item, which is the RFP, a wastewater stormwater engineer of record for the town of Alberton. Charlie has some materials to pass out for the council, which again will be emailed to you, Kyle.
So these were the 5 engineering firms that was their presentation for us. These were our final scorecards. Sorry for my tardiness, I was fighting with the...
This is great, thank you.
Kyle?
We put your scorecard for you to look at underneath the phone, Val.
Can you see it? Give me a moment.
Turn this camera on and put this phone upside
Sending
down.
you a picture.
Okay.
Kyle, I'm sending you pictures. Hold on just a sec.
Perfect.
Very good, thank you.
Yes.
So,
Let's see if I can do this right.
in the procurement process, there was a bunch of guidelines to be met and official type of things. So I have the 2 kind of prominent ones, but we went through. This was a process, and so what it entailed was forming a committee, and the committee was comprised of myself and Carrie Reedy and George Wheeler. So from us 3, we went, we met 3 different times, and the first time was kind of just going through these guidelines and kind of trying to evaluate what do we need to do and how do we need to do it. Was kind of what the first meeting was about. Second meeting, we came slightly unprepared and had a one of the people had kind of an emergency situation within the first 5 minutes. So the second meeting was more or less like, okay, we're not quite prepared anyway. We need to go back and come forward with doing, in the process of going ahead and scoring our own. So the way that the process goes down is each person, we're to read through all of those, and then the first meeting talked about the different companies and went through and just kind of talked about benefits. We all went through and wrote down pros and cons that we felt like on our initial reading independently, and then we came together in the first meeting and kind of hashed that out a little bit, how we kind of felt about it. And the second meeting was basically like, okay, where are we at? Let's just go ahead and go back and score these. So we all independently scored the same matrix. And what this matrix is this is all three of our scores combined. So this is like the total. And what I did is I went ahead and averaged every single box just to see if, try to make everything as fair and square as I could. I don't think it really would have mattered. I could have just tallied all the final scores. However, I felt like we went ahead and went through this. We all three independently came up with the same ordering of the 5 engineering firms. So 1 through 5, we had them outlined the same. So within the process of going through and bringing in any of these firms for questions or interviews or whatever, we felt like it was unnecessary. We were already all on the same page independently, and so our final meeting was pretty brief, and it was just kind of like, okay, we all agreed to this. So, in this, what we've come up with is Anderson Montgomery came out on top for all three of us, and so per the evaluation committee, we would recommend Anderson Montgomery to be our engineer of record for the wastewater, stormwater projects we have in the future.
All right, if they're willing.
If they're willing.
Right.
Since they submitted,
Yeah.
they are willing.
Is there a need to have a backup plan just in case? Obviously,
Well, Anderson Montgomery is here this evening,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking he might agree that it's a good idea to go with him.
All right. Well, at the recommendation, unless there are other questions, I feel like we could just move forward then and approve this at the recommendation of our water department.
Council, do you have any other questions?
No, we're really, I think, excited
Yeah.
to award
Sounds like
that
that's great.
Montgomery.
Yeah.
You agree, Kyle? Okay, does anyone else from the community have a question, comment of our process and what's been presented here by Charlie?
Well done, Charlie.
Yeah,
Well done.
definitely welcome.
Yes.
Thanks, yeah, it was full on, and again, it was definitely, there was, the one kind of hiccup is in here was we had to make a contracts officer. So Nancy took on the role of being the contract officer, and so the final meeting, she came in and still fulfilled that, but in terms of me handwriting these because I don't know where this is on her computer. I feel like it's slightly unprofessional, and I apologize for that, but I feel like it still gets the point across, and yeah.
Well, looks like you put a lot of work into this.
Yes.
A lot of time. I'll make a motion to award this contract to Anderson Montgomery.
I'll second it.
All right. Then we had a motion by Marvin, seconded by Sharon. Call the question, Marvin,
Yes.
Sharon,
Yes.
Tim,
I vote yes.
and Kyle.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous. Congratulations,
Yes.
Paul, Anderson Montgomery, we're very
you so much.
happy.
Yes.
And this is good consistency though for us, or what the right word would be, but that you are our engineer of record on now both sides. for drinking
I am
and-
honored, and I'm honored on behalf of the rest of my firm. Thank you so much. We'll do a good job for you.
We're counting on it.
Yeah, you did a pretty good job on the water, so we're
Yeah.
thinking you'll do a pretty good job.
It's always a couple of hiccups
Yeah,
along the way,
hitters.
but the key is getting through those, making sure everybody's treated fairly.
Right.
We really appreciate that.
Yeah, you bet, thank you.
Yeah, you have worked very hard for us.
Charlie, can I have clarification? Who were the three people that were part of the committee?
Myself and Carrie Reeby and George Wheeler.
Thank you.
George Wheeler serves on the land planning board, as does Sharon.
Yeah, you know, yeah.
Yeah,
And Carrie is the gal that had run for council in this last election. So I think
Nice.
that Nancy actually chose the committee and then chose Charlie, of course, to serve because he'll be working with the individual. I think she did an outstanding job in terms of choosing the committee, preparing the committee, and being that contract officer. So I was grateful that she was willing to complete that. Yeah.
Yeah, and within myself or whatever, they kind of defined that you should have a subject matter expert, which I feel like I'm probably the closest thing of that in this town, and like what we're looking for and what we need, and not kind of understanding that. So that was kind of, it just felt like, putting myself in there was probably, a good choice in terms of that. And I also feel like it is I just think it's really great in terms of, especially with this tank project, because I have a place for like some of that material that's gonna come out. I have a place for that. So I think that these two projects working in tandem, I think it is gonna be a beneficial thing for the community, It just makes sense to me also, so.
Great. Well, yeah, thanks for doing all that work.
Yes,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Thank you. And you know what, it's, iron sharpens iron. So when we go up against other firms, that's always good for us too.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, just you showing up, so that was really good that we had 5. Wonderful. And we've come to the point where we have public comment. Do we have anyone from the public who would like to make a comment? Whether the sheriff is here tonight or anyone else who's attended the meeting? Have a comment?
No, I just think it's pretty cool to see all the work that, people put through. He doesn't have to do that, and he's as long as I've been down here, he's super involved and, super professional, comes prepared. Maybe a little bit late, but. But no, it's great to see that, you guys have people in this community that, are extremely, you're blessed to have people that want to go above and beyond, so.
No, thank you.
And
Sheriff, appreciate
the
that.
same goes for Paul. The one thing that I've learned in my career, my life, is the most important things are the relationships. And the relationship you have with Paul, and Paul has with this town, and he knows all about it. He's a resource forever. he trumpets this town, he supports this town. Those relationships are very rare and they're coveted.
Indeed. Thank you for that
Thank you.
comment, Chris Cuneo.
Yes.
Yeah. No more to add? I would entertain a motion.
I'd like to motion that we adjourn this meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Bye.
Yay! This is when I think everybody gets.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you, Kyle.
Of course. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person.
No worries.